Hi, let's create a simple weather API app. So we create a new project, give it a name, maybe weather API example. Next, save it wherever you want, create that one. At the beginning, we need to uh, have uh, a data model, right? Let's bring a data model. So Swift file, simple Swift file, and for example, weather data. Now we will list our data models here. First one would be weather data as well. So struct weather data, and with the weather data we want it to be of course decodable, and so name, maybe we need a name as a string, of course. Main as well. Main, we will choose a main type. So we need to define what's this main type, and then we have the third one, which is weather. Weather, the type would be an array of weather. So we need to define that as well. So another structure to define the main. Okay, decodable, and so okay, so we have a temperature value which is double. Okay, now we define the main. Let's define the weather. What would be the weather type? So again, decodable, and let's have a description constant, which is string. Now we finish with the weather data. Let's create a new model here. Again, Swift file, and in this one we will have our main functionality will be here. So weather manager, class weather manager, and this one would be an observable object. At the beginning we need to have a variable and a published variable, basically, so it would be available everywhere in our app. So at published variable, and this would be weather data, and of course the type would be the weather data type, the structure that we created. Okay, and give it an optional just in case. Now let's have some our API here. So let's have the weather URL, the URL for our API. Here, basically, what we will do, we will have the URL itself, and we need to have the API key as well. So another constant API key. Our URL is not complete, as we will include the first part in this weather URL, and the other part of the whole URL we will include it in a function, and the function will be fetch weather. Okay, so a function called fetch weather which has an input variable city name, which is a string. And basically what's inside this function. So let's have the whole URL string in a constant. Let URL string. This will be the whole URL string. Here it's equal to, first we have the first part would be the weather URL. So the first part is the weather URL. So let's bring that part. And then the rest would be. So how would I know how to include the whole URL, or how can I call a URL? Let's go to the to my API website, which is the weather. The one that I am using is the current weather data. Let's go to the API doc, and here you go. Say how to make an API call. So for an API call, you need to do something like this. You need to have this URL, but here it has a longitude and latitude, which is, we don't need to keep searching for longitude and latitude for everyone. So let's search. Here is a city. Actually, we can add a city name instead. Let's see how the URL will look like. Okay, so instead of longitude and latitude, we can add a city name. And so we need this one. I will copy and paste it. That's what we need. I will paste it in the app. So as we say, the weather URL here. But as I said, we are not gonna take the whole URL till weather. And then after that, the query for a city and API key, I will cut those and paste them inside the function. So after the weather URL, I will have a query for city name and the API ID. So if I now go back to my key, I need a key. So I need the URL and I need a key. So in that case, I will change that actually to the constant your API key. That's how we do it. And what would be my API key? I need to go back to the website, to the, yep. So here, one more thing, I need to have a matrix. So I need to have a unit. So we have a standard, we have metric, and we have imperial. I will use basically metrics, because that's what I get used to. If you live in America or anywhere, you would maybe get another unit. So I can add this ampersand units metric at the end. So that's what will I do. I will add it after the end of here. So here, end of my complete URL string. Now I will have the units, the value will be displayed in matrix. If I go to the name and then to my keys here, this is my API keys. I can copy and paste it here. Okay, now I have the key. After that, what do I need to do? I need to include some other functions. So first I need to parse my JSON weather data. So that's why, or before that, I need to perform like a request. So I need to perform a request. So let's include a function called perform request. Yep, it has a URL string as an input, which is a string, of course. And in it, we will say if let URL is URL string URL, then in it, we will see let session equals URL session. And yeah, dot default. This is This is done by default here. And then let's have a task. So let task is a session dot data task with that URL, and we can express our data. We have the data, response, and error. That's what we are looking for. And then we will check if we have error. If error is error, then print it and then return. If not, if we have a safe data, basically, so our data would be the parse JSON of our weather data, okay, which is the safe data basically. And we can actually resume after we do that. We keep resuming the so task, our task, we can resume it, resume. Now we need to parse, we need to have this parse JSON function, because we just say weather data, but we didn't actually make this function. So let's have it, function parse JSON, which has a weather data as input. Okay, and then we have a decoder, which is a constant decoder, which is basically JSON decoder function. This is a predefined function within Xcode. So do let the decoded data equals try, then now decoder.decode our weather data, and we get it from the weather data, of course. We want to dispatch a queue. So dispatch queue.main.asynchronous, and then that would be self.weather data is actually our decoded data. And then we need to add a catch for error. So catch, and then we print if we have an error. And basically that's it. That's for the, yep, let's print the error. That's it for this file. Except we haven't have the function perform request yet. I will do it later. Let's go to our content view here. What I need to do is let's add some variables. Of course, we need some variables. So in our content view structure, and before the body, we need to add our data. So a state variable, city name. Okay, we need the city name as a variable. Another state variable, temperature. Okay, they are strings, and of course they are empty at the beginning. And then another one state object variable, weather manager, which will basically conform to the weather manager class that we just created. I don't need the image basically, so let's add a text field in the, so we can search for it, text, yep, text field, drag and drop. And in my text field, what I want to do, I want to search, and then so my placeholder would be search. So enter a city name, and then my text, the value would be $city value. That's how we call our state variable. So yes, that's the city name. So my value would be city name. My text here, instead of hello world, but before that, let's add some padding, because it's a little bit, it needs some padding. And let's change the style of our text field. So dot text field style, and then the style would be, there is one rounded border text field style. When we choose it, it has to be a function. So like the brackets. Now let's look at the text. It's not hello world, of course. So the text, I want to display basically the temperature. So I will say temperature and then display the temperature. I will just include my temperature variable. So temperature. And then this will display basically the temperature. Of course, some padding as well. Now between the text and the text field, let's add a button. And then, so I will have a button. When I click on it, it would display the temperature of that specific city. So here I will name it search instead of button. And in the action, I would say weather manager dot fetch weather. That's what we want, our main function, fetch weather. And then of course city name would be city name, like the variable which is city name. The last part here, of course, some padding. The last part here is that I want to add a modifier for the whole thing, for the VStack basically. So let's see what's the ending of the VStack. Yep, that's the ending of VStack. Enter. So we say on receive, okay. On receive, when we receive the weather data, so weather manager dot $ weather data, that's how we have it. And I don't need the rest of these things, just keep the bracket. Okay, so what will happen when we receive our data we want to have? So I will create this data in, so data in, and then if let data equals data of my temperature, or like the temperature, and then I will bring my temp, like the temp would be the value, the temperature, the temperature value. Okay, so it would be my variable or data.main.temp. That's how I get basically when I receive it, it will be like that. Okay, and I want it to be in degrees Celsius, of course. Yep, degrees Celsius. The last thing I would want to do is to actually include that in my function, my main function. So I go to weather manager, and I can see that there are two things I didn't do. The first would be to have the perform request inside my fetch weather, right? Because the fetch weather, it just have a let, there is no functionality in it. So let's have the perform request inside the fetch weather. That's would be, and yeah, my variable would be URL string. And the last thing, my city name, it can't be in this form, so it has to be like in a variable form. So I will say backslash and brackets, and then in it I will just say, yeah, the city name. For that, it should work now. I'll go to my content view, and let's search, for example, Sydney. Let's see the weather, like right now. Search, see, 18.63 degrees Celsius. If I change it to another city, for example, Baghdad, and it's hot now, 35 degrees Celsius, and another city maybe a bit far as well, so London. Let's search. Okay, oh, it's 5 degrees. So yep, that's it.